Hello and welcome to Boxing in Your Face. My name is Joe Cortez, international boxing referee from Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, this week we have some interesting topics to talk about. One of my friends, George Negron, was just asking me some questions about some controversial calls, things that may occur. Him as a fight fan was asking me these questions. The question that he asked me was, Joe, if a punch is coming in midair and the bell rings, how do you call that punch? Is it a legal punch? Is it a foul? How do you call it? Well, you know, let's go back to basketball. When a player throws a ball and the ball is in midair, the buzzer goes off, what happens? The ball goes in, it scores. Well, that's what I'm going to use in boxing. I mean, it only makes sense. If you're throwing a punch, ding, and a punch comes and it lands right after the bell, you can't help it. It was not an intentional foul. It was something that was already in motion. You know, so these are the kind of calls that sometimes the fans say, well, the replay showed that the punch was still back here, but by the time he finished with the punch, it was right after the bell. I'll go with the theory of the basketball shot. So let's go with that, okay? Now, another thing that may occur in boxing is fighters are fighting, and you say you cannot be saved by the bell. You cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the last round. See, so back in the old days, that's why sometimes, you know, people get confused about making a call. Say, well, he got saved by the bell. Well, that doesn't go no, that's over. That's history. Now is you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the last round. That's why we tell cornermen not to jump into the ring, because it can cause a disqualification for their fighter for coming in when I'm in the process of still making my call. The timekeeper may ring the bell, you know, but my count is still in progress. You got to take the mandatory 8 count or the full count, whatever comes during that round. If the bell rings, it should have run. If he got knocked out, he got knocked out at 3 minutes and 4 seconds of the 8th round. Okay? And that's the way it's called. That's why you say, well, the round's only 3-minute rounds. Yes, but being that the rules in effect, unified rules said you cannot be saved by the bell in any round, including the last round. That's the way it goes. So for you fans out there, you know, watch these things that sometimes they occur. And sometimes you don't want to disqualify a fighter, the one who just scored a knockout because his corner jumped in. It's a judgment call. They say, well, if the cornerman come into the ring apron or come into the ring, it can cause for disqualification. Yes, it can. Now, do you really want to disqualify a fighter who's just come back? And it's a judgment call, but you try to really tell these cornermen, don't come into the ring unless you know the fight is up or the fight is over or he's completely up for this mandatory 8 count, then the cornerman can come in. But that's where, if you have a good commission, you have good inspectors, that's what the inspectors are there for, to stop these guys from coming in. They're supposed to, the ring inspectors are supposed to monitor that corner, police that corner to make sure that none of that occurs. That makes our job easier, and it surely stops a fight from ending up in a controversy. So, good inspectors, keep your fighter, the cornerman, out of the ring until the referee signals that it's okay to come in. But sometimes the momentum gets going with the fight, and there's a lot of action, and everybody gets caught up in the middle of a situation. But good inspectors in those corners are very, very important. We have them here in Las Vegas, and I don't think I've ever seen where a fighter got disqualified for cornerman stepping into the ring, because our inspectors, Tony Lato, who was the chief of the inspectors, advises, he trains his inspectors to do just that. Now, another thing, talking about inspectors are our eyes and ears, because they help us. Because if they hear something going in that corner, if the fighter may be hurt, and I'm going out picking up my scorecards from the judges, we turn it into the commission, and those few seconds that I'm not looking or paying attention to that corner because I'm doing my other duties, picking up my scorecards to give to the commission after every round, the cornerman might have said something to the fighter, and the fighter might have responded a certain way, And that inspector will call me and tell me, Joe, come over here. This fighter's not feeling well. He says he's not feeling good. He wants to stop, you see? And when that happens, okay, they advise me to give me heads up. I either can call in the doctor or I can just call it off. It's up to my discretion. I would rather call in the doctor and make a decision. This way, we know we're doing the right thing. And the first and foremost is safety. So that's another good thing that inspectors have to do while monitoring those corners. Another thing is if a referee takes ill, something happens during the course of that fight. He can trip, twist an ankle, he may not be feeling well, something goes wrong with the referee, it could be hot outside, it can be heat exhaustion, you never know. Something can be going wrong with that referee, so you may want to have another referee, always have a referee at the sideline ready to jump in at any given moment. And one thing that I tell the judges, if anything like that happens at any given moment, you have to call time. Then what you do is, the judges remember where you're at, because if a referee is not feeling well and fight has to be stopped, or there's a foul has occurred, time has to be called. The judges, I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, judges, please pay close attention. Know where you're at that particular moment, because remember when the fan man came in to Las Vegas doing the Riddick Bowe and Holyfield fight, what happened there was that fight was delayed about 15 minutes. Now, where were the judges at that particular moment when the fight was stopped? And then they had to commence again. Did the fighter who got that round, was it fair, square judgment on the judges? Did they call it the right way? So little things like that can make a difference of a fighter winning or losing a contest. Another thing that happened to me the other day was the lights went out, not 100%, but I would say maybe like 50% of the lights went out. And you have to do one or two things. If you think that you can see okay, you may want to let it continue, depending if you're coming towards the end of the round. But if it's really dark, of course you got to call time. And again, judges, tell the judges, remember where you're at until we get the lights back on again. Hopefully you can see the judges where they're sitting, if it's not too dark. But these are the kind of things that can occur. And us as referees, we're the captain of the ship. We have to always be prepared. That's why I tell the referees, when we come to the venue for the fight, let's all sit together, let's talk about different scenarios, things that might occur, the unexpected. We talk about the low blows, the headbutt. Another thing that my friend George Negron was mentioning to me was, what happens when a fighter, turns his head, and he gets hit behind the head? How was that called? Well, I told George, that's a good question. Because if you cause yourself to get hit, I'm not going to call a foul on that fighter who threw the punch. You caused the foul, not him. Same thing with a low blow. If you throw the punch and I try to knock off the punch and it goes low, I caused it. He didn't cause it, So things like that. If you also turn your back, you get hit in the kidney. Try to get it from a punch. You caused it, not yourself. So what do? It's got to be called like if it was a legal punch. The same thing occurs when there's a headbutt. Fighters will come in and they get accidental headbutt. Okay, we call time. Again, judges know where you're at. Have the doctor evaluate the severity of the cut. But one thing we have to always remember is that if a fighter intentionally tries to butt the other fighter and he gets cut, we're going to call that cut like if it came from a legal punch, because he caused it himself. Now, these are the things that fans don't know about. And that's why we have this website, Boxing in Your Face, to try to educate the fans of what can go on in fights. And judges, referees, we go to these seminars and we talk about different scenarios, things that may occur. And that's why it's so important that sometimes we like to see some of the fans show up, especially the media, to go to some of our seminars so they can listen and see what we're going through as far as our preparation for up-and-coming fights. Now, as referees, I tell you, we still have so much to learn. I'm not trying to revolutionize boxing, but I'll revolutionize refereeing or judging. All I'm trying to do is raise the bar. I'm trying to make it a little bit more professional. so we know what we're doing. We all have to be on the same page. We can't call a certain punch a certain way in a certain state and then different in the other. You know, we all got to be on the same page. So I'm looking for uniformity across the board with all the sanctioning bodies and all the commissioners around the world, so we can be all on the same page like we do in baseball, and football, and hockey, and any other sport. It's all uniformity across the board. Why is it that boxing has to be so different? You know, let's get it across the board so everybody can understand this is the way we call it. You know, we do the high-profile fights here in Las Vegas. I would say 80% of them. And, you know, we basically, not that we know it all, because, believe me, I'm far from knowing it all, but I always try to come up with ideas and talk about different topics, that things that can occur in boxing that are occurring around the world. Anyway, guys, with that said, I'm going to let you go now, and we'll talk next week about more incidents that may be occurring in boxing, but we'll come up with some new topics next week. Take care, and check out Boxing in Your Face, and also go to faberfirm.com and check out my other website with seminars. Take care. God bless.